Hello everyone, I am Left, and welcome to what is going to be the first full episode of my Teaching Concepts series here today, and we're going to be talking about first rotations and macro play today. So you might be wondering, what does that mean? Well, basically it's going to just be a comprehensive guide to your first rotation, whether you want to play competitive or you're just playing in solo queue, and I aim to help you with your first rotation no matter what. So basically, no matter where you are in Vainglory, this should be able to help you. I hope I can help you, and I just want to give a huge shout out to Poli5208. He's the captain of One Piece 101, which is a really good competitive team. In my opinion, they're next in line to get acquired by a pro team. He helped me a lot with this video, mostly by sort of teaching me the things that I'm about to teach you. So huge thank you to him. And with that out of the way, let's get right into the meat of the video. This video is going to have a lot of stuff in it, and that is why I'm going to be including this little slide right here that says, what knowledge will we be gaining today? So first off, we're going to teach you how to, or what to do on your first rotation in general. It's just going to depend on what heroes that you are using and what heroes the enemy team is using, and it's going to be able to teach you how to make judgments and decisions based on what you see on the map or on the scoreboard in the early game. How to use vision to predict and infer enemy locations. That mostly has to do with flares, because you don't really see people buying scout traps at level 1 anymore. So yeah, flare play, really important. Which heroes to aggress or play passive on. That will be towards the end of the video. And lastly, the optimal rotation for an unorganized solo queue team who you do not know the other two players that you're playing with. So yeah, that is what we're going to be talking about today. I hope it's really useful. I hope you learn a lot. I hope this is a high quality video. If it is, please leave a comment down below. I would love to hear your feedback, whether it's good or bad. So let's get into the learning. So for a good bit of this video, we're going to be just looking at this aerial view map of the Halcyon Fold. It's just kind of an all-purpose bird's eye view of the map that I grabbed from the internet, and it was very useful to draw on and explain things. I hope explain things, but yeah. So this image is going to be used throughout the video for me to draw on, explain things, show rotations, show patterns, show macro play things, etc. So just wanted to familiarize you guys with the image before we start the video, since it's going to be pretty important as we go. I wonder where this description came from. I definitely didn't mean to put this in here. Totally didn't do this one on purpose. So, with that out of the way, let's time travel back to 2015. Now, most of you probably weren't even playing Vainglory in 2015. Vainglory started in November 2014 and evolved into 2015. Android didn't even have Vainglory until 1.6 in June of 2015. But 2015 is important for this video because of the absolutely defined macro play elements from patches 1.5 and 1.6. Patches 1.5 and 1.6 were the patches where Fortress and Rona were introduced to the game first. So one thing that you need to know that's very important is that in patch 1.5 and 6, the jungle camps spawned significantly later than they do now. Which means that where now you usually have time to get down to the front camps before they spawn, you had about double that time to get down there in 1.5 and 1.6. So, very long time. You'd go all the way down there and they still wouldn't spawn for about another 10 seconds. So, what would happen is what's on the screen here. At least in competitive or higher elo matches, remember, this is back when drafts didn't exist. So, you could have a Kashka on your team and a Kashka on the enemy team. What would happen was people figured out that the best strategy was Kashka, Ringo, Fortress. Everybody goes right down to the middle at the beginning, game deciding fight at level 1. Whichever team wins takes the farm, instantly wins the game because of snowballing mechanics that no longer exist today. So, what you see on the screen here was the optimal way to win, and really no other NA team would ever deviate from this, or else they would usually lose. You would see some examples in the Vainglory World Invitational, Vainglory's first like international tournament, where like say Infamous wanted to play. I remember watching this in 2015. It was like the first tournament I ever watched. I was so excited to watch it every night. And I remember Infamous from Southeast Asia, they wanted to play Cruel and Arden. Cruel and Arden were absolutely unheard of in patch 1.6. They were never ever played, and this is even when Arden had the full range of his Vanguard and the 50% bonus health barrier. So this is like before all the Arden nerfs, and he was still totally never played. Infamous started it all the way at their back camps, and they got absolutely rolled over by gang stars. And that's what you get when you deviate from the meta in a bad way. But there are good ways to deviate from the meta using your knowledge of Macroplay and using your knowledge of Macroplay to outplay the other team in the early game, which is what we're going to get into in the next slide. Enter Invincible Armada. The Korean team was not yet acquired by Team Phoenix, and Druid was not their laner yet, but they were still absolutely dominant in this World Invitational for the reason that I am showing on the screen right now. Invincible Armada turned the NA meta on its head. As you can see on the screen, what they would do is they would send all of their guys through the top lane bush and pick off the laner as he would come down. This would obviously create a fight win for them, and they would snowball the jungle from there, instantly winning the game. Obviously, like I said before, snowball mechanics were really, really bad in patch 1.6, so really all you needed was 2 kills right off the bat, and you were good for the rest of the game. So, this was just like one of the earliest moments at which in my Vainglory career, so to speak, was where I said, wow, they really out-strategied the other team. They must have really thought about that, and there's actually something deeper than just individual mechanical play on Vainglory. So you start to think about Macroplay, and in the broadest terms, it is the overarching purpose behind every move you make on the map. So that's just an incredibly broad definition, but some other definitions of it could be knowing when your jungle camps are going to come up, knowing when the Kraken is going to come back up after it's been taken, knowing how and when to either push or stall the lane, knowing where other heroes are on the map without actually having vision on them due to patterns, and different things like that. So now we're actually going to look at some VODs from the VIS League. These were handpicked by Polly again. I don't know how to say his name completely right. If he watches this video, he can comment down below so I can say his name right next time. But he showed me these examples from the VIS League, and he was totally right. I then went through and picked out another one, so hope you guys can learn a lot from these VODs. So these are 2 games between Cloud9 and Hammer's Velocity in the Split 1 finals for the VIS League. And you can see here that both teams are rotating down and going to be taking a position near the Elder Treant, except Old School is in the top lane, and Gabe Vizzle is actually in the Tribush with, that's I Love Joseph. Yep, that's I Love Joseph on Lance, and he's in the backs. So Cloud9 has taken up a very interesting position, and I've circled on the screen there the 2 bushes. Now, Gabe Vizzle is sitting in that bush as Finn, and due to his position, Hammer's Velocity is starting all over, and is that Aloha? No, that's T-Tigers. Hammer's Velocity has not taken up an aggressive position and committed to an invade because they are fearful of the fact that the jungler and laner for Cloud9 could be sitting in those bushes. So Gabe Vizzle's positioning here is going to allow Old School to shove the lane early and get a gold advantage over starting all over, who is only taking the 2 front camps, and it's also going to allow I Love Joseph to clear his jungle very, very fast. So, as it pauses again here, I Love Joseph is taking his jungle. Well, yes, T-Tigers is also taking his, but Old School is up in the lane unmatched right now, and starting all over is, for some reason, taking the front camps. So, maybe if it was shown that Adagio was Finn, starting all over and Gabe Vizzle maybe would have tried to take a fight there because Finn is big and slow and he can easily have a lot of damage done to him early game, etc. But I think Gabe Vizzle's positioning coupled with I Love Joseph and Old School's positioning is optimal to give Cloud9 a little bit of a gold lead here in the early game. Now this wasn't a completely clear-cut example, but I think the next one is. So let's look at the next one now. So Hammers and Cloud9 have now switched sides, and let's just take a look at the comps. Cloud9 is playing Cruel Finn Vox. Very, very late game scaling, avoid human contact at all costs in the early game, and Hammers has flared the Tribush, found a Gate Visual, and it looks like they're going to try to go for an invade here. But starting is actually going to peel off, and they're going to go 2v2 into the enemy jungle now with starting taking the fronts. They let Cruel get the top camp and the heal, and they just kind of bug out, and they let I Love Joseph get the mid camp, which is more than you should be allowing a Cruel to get, and then they backport for some reason. It might be because they were afraid that they were afraid that Old School might rotate down to take their farm, but he's a Vox. It's going to take him ages to get anything in their jungle. It was really a blunder by Hammer's Velocity there. You can see in the gold score right there that Cloud9 definitely took a lead there, because by going in to an invade against a Cruel and Finn and then not committing and not winning a fight there, that just pays dividends to a Cruel Vox Finn comp, which needs to survive to the late game. And well, this allowed Old School to shove the lane up and gain a bit of an early gold lead on starting all over, which in turn allowed Old School to eventually port back and buy a few more items than starting all over is going to have. And it was just, I don't know, it just wasn't a very good decision by Hammers. Maybe it could have been because T-Tigers bought boots instead of a swift shooter. They didn't really have anything to stun the Cruel besides Afterburn, and he was with Finn, and Cruel Finn has synergy. I don't know. They didn't really have a super early game sure way to invade like Koshka, but Hammers definitely should have committed on that invade, and it ended up costing them in gold. So that is just, I think, a example of good idea, poor execution. They had the right idea in terms of macro play, but they just didn't execute on it, and it ended up costing them some gold. Next, I want to go over what is the optimal rotation for your disorganized solo queue team. Now, this I anticipated would be the problem with this type of video, because I felt like I would only be speaking to players that are in coordinated teams, but no, that's not what I want to be. I want to speak to all players so everyone can learn, and that's why I've created this rotation for a disorganized solo queue team. You're going to see here, the first person's rotation is going to pop onto the screen in a second. There you go right down to the Tribush, whether that's the jungler or the roamer or the laner, it doesn't matter, because everybody's going to end up in the Tribush on this rotation, at least for a little bit. So the next person's rotation is going to pop on right there. Still ends up in the Tribush, and when the third person's rotation comes down, that is going to be what we want to talk about right there. And here comes the third person's, and you see the flare right there, flare the Tribush, see and adapt. That's what I want to focus on here. Now, flaring is so vital in the early game. You've got to flare the enemy bush, whether they're in it or not. When you are a roamer in the early game, you need to have 2 flares and 1 Halcyon potion, not 2 Halcyon potions and 1 flare. You've got to know where the enemy team is early game, and you need to be able to act on that, and if you don't see them, you need to use your map sense to infer where they could be. So, let's say you do not see them in the enemy Tribush. You flare the enemy Tribush, and the other team is absent. Next, you're going to use your next flare to flare the lane bush and see if they are flanking high as 3 to try to surprise you. That does happen. And if they're not there, then you should probably pan over their jungle to see if you can catch the animation of one of their treants going off. Now, the ladder with the animation of the treants, you should only be checking for that if they are playing a late game scaling comp that needs to protect a late game scaling jungler or roamer. So essentially the flare, you need to just be able to know where the enemy team is, and if you don't see them, you've got to use your map sense to infer where they could be. So when you flare, you need to look at your own comp as well. If you're playing Fortress Koshka Ringo, you flare, they're not in the lane bush, their laner isn't in the lane, they're not in the tri-bush, full speed ahead, go invade their jungle. Fortress Koshka Ringo cannot be shut down at level 1. There is nothing that will shut it down at level 1 unless you like place a nest of scout traps in a bush for some reason in casual mode, because you would never do that in ranked, but oh well. Always look at your comp before you either invade or play passive. If you're playing Cruel, Finn, Vox, and you say, well, I don't see them, let's invade, no. If you're playing Cruel, Finn, Vox, and you don't see them, you're like, well, I don't see them, good for us, we're all going to go to our positions and begin to farm up so that we can scale to the late game. So, just because I fear that I came off a little bit complicated there, I have created a little bit of a graphic visual for you guys to better understand the concepts tucked inside that little speech I just gave. So it's basically just Finn, and he is roaming, and he flares the enemy bush, and he uses his brain skills in the top left corner to infer where the enemy team could be. So basically what I'm saying here is be like Finn. Be a smart player. Even if you're not the roamer, you might want to pick up a flare at the beginning. Especially if you're in solo queue, your roamer might not pick up any flares. Your roamer might not place a single scout trap the whole game. So always carry your weight when it comes to team smarts, even if you're the guy that's just supposed to be doing damage. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is I tried to make a funny image to put in here to make people laugh, but also learn. Probably didn't work. I bet none of you laughed, but I guess what I'm trying to say here is be smart, be like Finn, always be a smart roamer or a smart carry, and carry some flares. You always gotta know where the enemy team is. What you don't know can hurt you in Vainglory. Quick clip here, it's actually a little known fact that you can see certain heroes' animations on the map when you don't have vision. You see here, I travel out of Kestrel's vision range, and I can see the Treant animation on the map, and I can see her Glimmer Shot animation on the map. See the Treant right there, she's gonna go down, but just a little known fact, I wanted you guys to see that. Lastly, today, I'm going to go over some heroes that have very, very clear-cut power spikes, and you can see that I only included 9 here, and I also didn't include any roamers besides Fortress, because the roamers are pretty all-purpose with the exception of Fortress. We have 2 sections here, either invade or die, and avoid human contact at all costs. So you've got your early scalers and your late game scalers. On one side we've got Petal, Taka, Koshka, and Fortress. Koshka, Fortress, Taka, Petal, pretty self-explanatory, I think. These are the heroes that are always in your jungle in the early game and making you cry and break your phone and throw it out the window, etc. Then you've got the avoid human contact at all costs heroes, which is Baron, Alpha, Scarf, Cruel, and Vox. Vox at level 1 has got to be one of the worst heroes in the entire game. Same thing with Baron. Just abysmal. You never want to be in a fight with those guys, and that is why that's part of the significance of the Cloud9 VOD that I showed earlier. Old School was able to start farming up and not get into an altercation with hammers because they didn't commit to the invade. So, with that out of the way, I actually might start a new series. The reason why I didn't make this a complete chart is because I was thinking about starting a new series, well, a new sub thing of this series called Power Arcs, where I go over different heroes and all of the different power spikes that can go on when you are playing these heroes, depending on the items that you get, depending on how good you are, depending on where you are in the map as far as position, and things like that. So that is actually going to be it for today's video, you guys. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you really learned something useful. I hope it was a quality video. This was edited a couple times. Once again, special shout out to Polly5208, the captain of One Piece 101, for helping me out with this video. Couldn't have done it without you. If without you, it would have just stayed as its first iteration, which kind of sucked, to be honest. So yeah. That's going to be it for today, guys. Leave a comment down below. Did you like it? What do you want to see next? And I'll see you all next time.